is the introduction to the third chapter, that is classification of plant kingdom. Okay, so in this regard, what we will look at is a basic idea. Okay, basic idea to classify plant kingdom. More than classifying the plant kingdom, what I would be keen to look at in this session is what exactly we'll be dealing with in our coming, sessions, or in the forthcoming sessions related to this chapter. Okay, so let's start, and as usual, I would like to ask you a few questions to just recap the things that we have learned or understood. And they are very, very, very easy. So, how are you going to define this term, biology? Okay, how are you going to define, or how can you define biology? Yes, it is the study of living objects. Right? Very simple. What are the branches of biology? You may tell there are many branches, but basically, depending on whether it's an animal, study of animal, or study of plant, it can be classified either as botany or as zoology or zoology. Okay, zoology is the study of animals, and botany is the study of plants. Okay. Now, interestingly, study of plants and animals both date back to many centuries ago. But in case of botany, a Greek scientist known as Theophrastus provided insight into botany by classifying plants into 4 groups. How many groups? 4 groups. And hence he was regarded as father of botany. Of course, there are other people who try to classify plants as well, including Swedish scientist Carl Linnaeus, who is considered as father of taxonomy. He grouped plants into 24 categories based on their sexual characters or other reproductive characters. But Theophrastus was the first one, hence he was considered as the father of botany. And in botany, what exactly we look at is the investigation, or the category, or this subject investigates the internal and external structure of plants, and external structure of plants through evolutionary and phylogenetic aspects. Through evolutionary and phylogenetic aspects. Okay. Oh, I missed it. Anyway, so the study actually looks deep into the plant species, including its morphological structure, anatomical structure, its evolutionary history, so as to classify them easily and so as to classify the plant kingdom into a specific part. And many systems of classification has been followed or has been provided by many scientists for dividing plant kingdom. Out of them, scientist Eichler or Eichler, however you want to pronounce, he divided them into two basic categories. Okay, flowering and seeded plants to that of non-flowering and non-seeded plants. Okay, and non-seeded plants. So it was scientist Eichler who has divided them into. So flowerless is cryptogams and the flowering plant is phanerogams. Then cryptogams divided into thallophyta, bryophyta, pteridophyta, like that. So if you look at scientists' classification part or classification chart, which is also given in your textbook, you can see that he has divided that into, or the plant kingdom into, cryptogams and phanerogams. Okay, cryptogams divided again into three parts: thallophyta, bryophyta and pteridophyta. While phanerogams has been divided into gymnosperms and geosperms or spermatophyta, because they involve in sexual reproduction and produce different sperms. And further, angiosperms are divided into dicotyledon and monocotyledon based on the cotyledons they have present, while thallophyta is divided into schizophyta, that is bacterium, algae, fungi and lichen or lichen, however you want to pronounce. So this was Eichler's system of classification that has been given for plant kingdom very early. We will discuss about different divisions or about in detail a little bit later, but first and foremost let's try to look at the classification of the whole living organisms. Then we will concentrate on plant kingdom. So what we will be doing in our subsequent subsequent sessions are as follows. We will look at, okay, so what we will do is that we will look at one, different systems of classification, classification of organisms as a whole. It's not just only plants. Then we will look at that's what will be of 5 kingdom classification and 3 domain classification as an example. Okay, this is what we will look at in our next session. Then we'll look at exception to classifications. Okay, example is your virus. Then we will look at the next session. We will look at algae, fungi, and lichens in very brief. Then we will look at the bryophytes, then the pteridophytes. Okay, then we will look at the gymnosperms and the angiosperms at the last, and life cycle of angiosperms. To conclude, so these are the sessions that we will look at one by one in this chapter for a better understanding of this particular chapter. Thank you.